r/ask Reddit. People who fix computers, laptops. What's the worst thing you found on someone's computer? Oh boy, the last company I worked for, I got a laptop back from one of the sales guys who was complaining that his computer was slow and kept crashing. He was the sort of guy who, rather than raise a ticket, sends an email with the entire exec team copied in about how he couldn't do his job because IT were incompetent, etc, etc. Well, I got his laptop from him and noticed the hard drive was completely full. Most of the sales stuff is web-based, so there was no reason for the local drive to have anything on it. So, I had a look. Expertly hidden on his hard drive in a folder called Work Stuff was over 300 GB of naked pictures and videos of himself. Literally thousands of pictures of him naked. Videos of him dancing naked. Videos of him shoving things in his ass. One extremely awkward meeting with the guy's manager later. He was quietly let go. A 20-year-old friend's mother was going through her husband's laptop to fix some virus issues and found videos of their daughter, my friend, getting changed, taking showers, etc. on the laptop. Apparently the husband-dad had hidden cameras in their daughter's room taking inappropriate videos of her for years. He's in jail now, but I can't imagine how that felt finding out that her own father that she loved and trusted was betraying her in the sickest way for most of her life. Edit. I looked up the news article about it and I was mistaken when I said he was in jail. He had a 9-month conditional sentence plus 2 years of supervised probation and had to participate in programs for sex offenders. The inside of a heavy smoker's computer is beyond disgusting. It creates a fine orangish film that coats every single internal component, smells wretched, and will become a noxious cloud if you try and blow it off. Just go outside to smoke. Seriously. Pothead computers too? Not at all. Those just have shaken the keyboard. I've never met a pothead that smoked the same amount of weed as a heavy smoker smokes cigarettes. So that's inherently a lot less volume of smoke being pulled through the thermal system. Plus I'm sure the chemical makeup of cigarette smoke is much more complex and shitty than that of pot. But that is pure speculation and it is wholly possible that I'm just talking out of my ass. Father-in-law got a new computer and wanted stuff transferred over. His old computer had viruses and ran like shit. Due to this I tried to figure out what actually needed transferring rather than just transferring everything after cleaning it up. Stumbled upon pictures of him in drag and him getting a dildo shoved up his ass. Why do people insist on large thumbnails? Why? But now you know, and knowledge is half the battle. Battle for what? Don't ask me. Couple of things. I found a dead rat inside a PC one time. Customer couldn't fathom why it shorted out. Thing was like a mummy too. Old 90-year-old dude comes in with a computer. Pop it on the tester, hook it up to a monitor and his background is the most hardcore gay porno ever. There are like 10 customers waiting in the shop so I quickly just turned the monitor off. Swapped the desktop background out and the back and did the work. Was at an old couple's house backing up all their pictures. And those two old folks had some nasty self-filmed amateur porn on there. So many grey pubes. Had a customer come in and be like, I don't know why my computer isn't working. Load up the desktop and there's tons of malware. I ask what kinda sites he goes to so I can coach him on how not to get infected again, and like clockwork a bunch of malware pop-ups start flashing and playing the ass and titties song. Took everything in me to just hold it together. All the other things are par for the course. Shittily hidden porno folders labeled innocuously. Like I'm not gonna see some random folder labeled beach stuff that weirdly has like 3 TB in it while I'm backing up your files. Web histories to Nazi sites. Married dudes who 90% of their history is Craigslist hooker links. I mean, you work in IT for like 10 years, nothing surprises you anymore. Had the FBI come in one time and take a computer that we were fixing. One lady just left her kid, 2-year-old, at the shop after dropping the computer off for like 3 hours till CPS came and there was a giant brawl in the waiting area. Somebody took a dump on the floor in our line one time. All in all, it was a crazy job. The more I read the worse it got. Buddy on my floor freshman year worked at the college help desk. A guy, who I actually knew through another friend, brought his computer in to get fixed. He was adamant about saving what was on the hard drive. My buddy saw some interesting file names. and decided to look further. It was kiddie porn. Dude went to jail. My buddy had to testify at trial. Shoot. I don't think I would ever be the same again if I was your friend. Almost 5,300 pieces of virus, malware and spyware. I don't look at their files. Oh, hey, a computer tech with a sense of ethics. This is like finding a unicorn. Not on, but in. A guy I know that fixed computers for a living years ago had a customer bring in a computer stating that the floppy drive had stopped working. When he opened it up, he found cockroaches mashed against the read-write heads in the drive. He said he just closed it up and left it on the front step for the guy to come and retrieve. My computer I got in 2007 had a floppy drive. Windows Vista. What operating system does it use? Windows Vista. We're going to die. Hell runs on Windows Vista. My friend's dad used to fix up old computers and laptops, and one day he told us about this time this elderly man came into his shop to get his old desktop fixed. So he drops it off, and immediately my friend's dad notices it smells off, and I mean very off. So he goes to fix it, and when he pops open the side, I shit you not, 20 cockroaches climb out of this thing and scatter away. On the inside is this rotten piece of meatloaf left over which has turned moldy black and gross. My friend's dad said he almost threw up in the moment and they had to call an exterminator to kill the roaches. He called the elderly man back to tell him about his computer troubles. Apparently the old man had dementia or something and thought the computer was a fridge, and he had stored his leftover meatloaf in there. Needless to say, they did not fix his computer. A fridge, wow. Must have kept freezing up. I worked for my university's IT department in the laptop depot, so we basically would do any repairs on students, faculty, staff's laptops. We had this really solid warranty with Dell where they were 100% covered for 4 years, even including intentional misuse. We saw all sorts of laptops full of dust, smoke, beer/wine liquor. They would always say they spilled juice on their laptop. I got to the point where I could replace a motherboard on a Latitude D630 in under 5 minutes. The only time I ever saw a laptop that we refused to repair was one dude who barfed all over his. My boss just put on rubber gloves, put it in a plastic bag, and mailed it to Dell to be replaced. At my old job, some kid, prob 17 or 18 at the time, brought in his Asus gaming laptop for us to clean up. The thing was riddled with malware. Some of the files we had to manually delete, and when we went looking we found something interesting. He had hours of sex tapes with him and his girlfriend. Also keep in mind that this is when Windows 8.1 was new and he photo tile on the start menu cycled through saved content. When the kid came to pick up the laptop, the Photos app showed a preview pic with his GF sass and his penis clearly inside her. We quickly flipped the laptop around claiming that we forgot to re-enable something and turned off the live tile feature so that the pics would show up. None of us that worked on the laptop said a thing to the kid or his dad when they came to pick it up. A crusty old man walked into the shop with a look in his eyes like a child who just stole from the cookie jar. The year is 2017, but he asks me if I can burn a CD for him. I am confused, but I indulge the customer's request. I ask him what he wants burned to the CD. He simply points to a folder titled New Folder. By instinct I double click, and in that moment what little innocence I had left died. Inside that indescribable folder, hundreds of pictures of what I'm assuming is wife in what can only be described as explicit positions. I'm sure she is a fine lady, but age has not been kind to her. The lack of hygiene and poor diet didn't help either. Frozen in place, I slowly turn my head to the old man's gaze, only to be met with a simply indescribable grin and a slow nod. Never before in my life has I been that afraid, disgusted, and stunned. But I had a job to do. I grabbed a dusty old 700 millibars CD and burned those images to its form. It was done. The transaction was made, but I was robbed of my innocence and of my sanity. I hooked up with a girl from work and she asked me to fix her laptop. I found her wedding photos on there. Always check the ring finger, guys. Was she still married when you guys were dating? Yes. The marriage was a sham from day one. She married him for a visa. They were sleeping in different rooms and I wasn't the first affair, but yeah, she was still married. If she married him for a visa, then how is that an affair? I feel like it's just an open marriage at that point. I don't fix computers, but my parents gave me a task of fixing the family computer. Few clicks here and there and I ended up on my sister's other Facebook account. She was selling herself over on FB. She posted her prices and schedule. She also had 100+ messages from guys asking to meet up. I felt so sick. I told my dad, expecting him to talk to her about it. He ended up kicking her out that night. Our family hasn't been the same since then. Edit. Spelling. How long ago was this and how is your relationship with your sister now? This was about 4 or 5 years ago, not sure. It still shocks me that my family is still torn about this because my parents don't tend to hold a grudge for that long. Then again, this has never happened in our family before. I still love my sister. She's my little sister, one of my best friends, because we have practically the same sense of humor, and I'll always look out for her. My mistake was telling my dad expecting he would talk to her about it. He always did that. Whenever we were in trouble he would sit us down and have a conversation starting off with "Okay, what's going on?" This was the only time he didn't have a conversation with her. He just accused her of being a prostitute, showed her the FB and just kicked her out. I regret what I did because I wasn't expecting him to lash out that way. But she and I talk daily, and she's about to get married to a nice guy, so I'm glad it's working out for her. My brother works on laptops and one time a guy came in to get Windows 8 put on his computer. This man was an old family friend, and while he was backing up files he found a video of the man's daughter. I won't go into details of what it is, for the sake of keeping my blood pressure down, but my brother immediately alerted the authorities and the man is now serving a 12-year prison term. He's just lucky my brother was at his place of business, or I believe he would have killed him instead of calling the law. Used to work at a small computer repair shop. Every now and then you'd find porn or something like that. Nothing too unusual. The worst part was usually the physical state of the machines. As a courtesy, the shop I worked for would always blow the dust out of systems that came in. Smokers' computers were the worst. Years of tar and dust buildup just would not come loose. There was one system that as soon as we opened it, we saw dozens of roaches inside. We quickly closed up the case, taped up all openings, stuck it in a bag and fumigated it. There was this other time that a customer brought their system in for weird performance issues. Turns out that their cat puked round the side vent all over the motherboard. Customer wanted to pay for us to clean it rather than replace it. I don't fix computers for a living, but my first home computer was one that used to belong to my dad. He did not do a very good job deleting his old files and I stumbled upon his porn collection. I wish I hadn't. Dad is apparently a perv. I was fixing my sister's laptop because she said there was a virus running slow despite being new. At the time, you know what I found? Almost 2 gigs of Mario Peach Rule 34. My sister was 7 at the time. I'm still confused by it. Your sister at age 7 had a laptop? Does what I found in the keyboard count? I used to work in IT support for a hospital. One of the PAs said her computer wasn't typing properly anymore. Called up, swapped out the keyboard and took the defective one back to the office. On examination, and after discreetly chatting with one of her colleagues, what we found was years, like genuinely years, of food particles under the keys. So many crumbs from hundreds of break time muffins and sandwiches had been dropped under the keys and compacted by typing that they couldn't be removed without a screwdriver and serious effort. We just dumped it into the medical waste incinerator. Not me, but one of my brothers in IT. He worked at a third-party Apple dealership and was doing a data transfer for a customer from their old machine to their new machine. They would set people up with their photos in iPhoto as part of these data transfers. When they were importing the photos, iPhoto shows each photo for a second as it imports. Most of the time, people will just minimize the window to respect the privacy of the customer. Well, that didn't happen and there were gigs and gigs of the customer, middle-aged mom, engaging in sexual acts with a dog. The worst part was, he had to help bring their new iMac out to their car when they came in to pick it up. And in the car was the dog in the pictures, looking like a very sad doggo. He was really upset by the experience and needed to take a few days to reset. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.